Hey everybody, glad you're here. This is the Chase Squirrelson Show, and I'm your host, Chase Squirrelson. And if you're listening right now, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Today's episode is one of those conversations that starts simple and then goes somewhere interesting. So let's jump in. Welcome back to the latest episode of Chase Squirrelson. I am Chase. And what I want to talk about today is something that affects ADHD sufferers quite a bit, and that's fatigue. And the main reason we suffer from fatigue is we've got a fairly dysfunctional sleep life. For example, and this is true, I decided to go to bed early last night and establish a better sleep routine. I turned out the lights, got comfortable, and I shared this with my partner, and she just laughed because this is me. I turned out the lights, got comfortable, and then suddenly the thought occurred to me that my stepsister has not called me lately. I was ready to go, where did that come from? Then I said, I wonder if she really likes me. And I wonder if she has resentments toward me from our childhood. And then I started to think, well, what if she talks about me behind my back? Where does this stuff come from? And then to continue this string, I then thought about an article I read about China having the capability of dropping a pulse bomb on our country, totally rendering our electrical system useless. And if that happened, do I have enough food, fresh water, or cash on hand? I also realized I actually have no contingency plan for something like that, and if such a catastrophe did occur, how would any of my family know where we each other were? I probably need to establish a meeting place in case of a disaster. I realized I was a little bit hungry, or actually, is it thirsty? The brain doesn't know the difference. So if I go downstairs and have a drink, will I end up getting up often at night to go to the bathroom? And then I'd be pretty tired in the morning, and that would ruin my pickleball performance. And if that happened, then I'm going to where other players may not want to play with me or don't think I belong in that category of ability. Then I realized I was excessively ruminating, and I began worrying if it was possible to get cancer from worrying. If that happened, what if Medicare went insolvent? And then how could I afford health care? And even worse, if I died from that, how many people would attend my funeral? I was actually thinking, will it be well attended or not? So why is sleep so often messy for people like me? I think it has something to do with my internal clock from what I've read. Part of my brain says it's 10 o'clock. It's time to go to bed. And another part reminds me that I often come up with my best ideas at 1:30 a.m. I think it's very easy for me to go into hyperfocus mode when it's very quiet and not doing anything and nothing is happening around me. Why does my brain suddenly decide at bedtime that I need to organize my file cabinet or even tackle that mess that's been accumulating in my garage? This is at bedtime. I start out well by going to bed earlier, laying down, getting comfortable. Then all of a sudden, my brain opens up a few dozen tabs, and then on top of that, I suddenly realize that I may have not paid my real estate taxes. I suddenly fret over having discovered that I had gone through this morning's board meeting with one of the buttons on my button-down shirt unbuttoned. I'm thinking about this, and that nobody told me might mean that they don't like me or respect me and feel like I'm adding anything constructive to the board. This is where I go. And then all of a sudden I'm wondering, and I'm in bed, by the way, then I'm wondering what the humming sound is coming from my neighbor's yard. And then realize that my top sheet is not anchored firmly at the bottom of the bed the way I really like it, and I worry I won't sleep well. For example, last night I started to think about a date I had 4 years ago with a woman as part of a Just Lunch blind date program and why she thought we would not be a good match. And then I get up and go to my desk and start writing down a list of my strengths and weaknesses. All the things that were nothing burgers earlier in the day now have escalated to DEFCON 1. But I've learned enough about ADHD now to know that bedtime and the time before it should be very boring. If I kept to the rule of no caffeine after 12 noon, kept the lights dim as the evening went on, and made sure I did not exercise after 4 p.m., I would give my ADHD circadian rhythm a chance to avoid what I call night shift vampire mode. I need to realize that my bad bedtime routine and resulting sleep deficit takes out its revenge on me the next day. Sometimes trying to get out of bed in the morning is like trying to escape from quicksand, and that my alarm clock is only suggesting that I rise and shine. I've discovered that sleep inertia is very real, and it's hard for me to get into motion when I'm very tired. The very idea of establishing a disciplined morning routine is for some other species, not for me. So what have I found that actually helps? I really don't want to sound like a wellness influencer. I think we have enough of those already. There are some basics that I think everybody knows, like put away the iPhone, the iPad, the laptop, at least 1 hour before bedtime. And even before that, stop doing what I call doom scrolling. It seems like I'm morbidly attracted to videos that either make me angry or scare me. I've even called my cousin, who's in a different time zone, he has a PhD in philosophy, and I've asked him if he has successfully discerned what the meaning of life is. This is when I should be going to sleep. I know that cutting off caffeine outside of the morning hours is critical for me, and trying to get some sunlight on me for 15 or 20 minutes soon after I wake up is helpful, but of course, in our hemisphere, that is not always easy to do. I do have an artificial light lamp for something called SAD, S-A-D, which stands for Seasonal Affective Disorder. They do work. Those lamps can work, but you need to find ones that are really effective. After doing some research, I discovered 5 that are worth mentioning here. One is the Lumby SAD lamp. That's L-U-M-E-B-B-Y-S-A-D lamp. I actually use that one. The others include the Northern SAD lamp, the Northern Lux Portable SAD lamp, the Verilux HappyLight VT43 SAD lamp, and lastly, the Lumi Vitamin L Slim SAD lamp. These lamps can all give you that necessary light that's not available in the cloudy hemisphere that we live in. I even get help from my partner, like her texting me at 9 p.m. to remind me to turn off my devices. You can even add to your routine by including a warm bath or shower. I find a cup of chamomile tea helps. Even 10 minutes of stretching. And something I found very helpful is a cup of bone broth mixed with tart cherry juice and a spoonful of apple cider vinegar, a half hour before bedtime. One of those health influencers talked about that once when I was scrolling, and I thought that was helpful. And I've been doing that for a few months, and it's actually been effective. There are also breathing exercises that I use, such as taking a deep breath for 4 seconds, holding it for 7 seconds, and slowly letting it out for 8 seconds. I do that 3 times, and I find it very helpful to induce relaxation. I'm not a big fan of sleep medications, although I occasionally will take a low dose, 5 to 10 milligrams of melatonin an hour before bed, and also a couple capsules of magnesium. That's actually very helpful. In order to clear my mind before bed, I will journal a little bit, include writing down what I might be worrying about, what I did that day, and creating I'll deal with it tomorrow list. I also was given some good advice about creating sort of a landing strip where I just lie down and allow my body to relax, which often triggers the turning off of my brain. Physical relaxation triggers the mind to relax. I've talked about the fact that my ADHD was identified late in my life, which saddens me to know that I lived a long time thinking that I was irresponsible or lazy for not getting enough sleep because I stayed up too late or that I simply can't get my life together. I know that some of my listeners have tried so many things like setting multiple alarm clocks. I have a friend who actually set 9 of them, and slept through them all, and only woke up when his dog started licking him in the face. Another would put his phone across the room away from his bed, and that was a very solid, logical thing to do, but when he got up at night to go to the bathroom or get something to drink, he would take the phone back to bed with him like a comfort animal. And of course, he would check it if he had any messages or important emails at 2 o'clock in the morning. One of the things that works for me is scheduling something early in the morning with someone else where I have to show up for an appointment. Of course, I'm filled with resentment saying to myself something like, what monster scheduled this? Another technique I've tried to get myself around is to check my phone for important messages or emails. And then, of course, 45 minutes later, I'm still on the phone, but I've learned how to make lasagna with a slow cooker. A very effective one, although sometimes painful, is to fall out of the bed. A strategy where you don't roll out, you fall out and let gravity take over and be my accountability partner. It's painful, but it actually does work. It jogs me awake. I have, at least once, in an act of desperation, actually slept in tomorrow's clothing. I did that once. And even though I was slightly wrinkled, at least I was on time. I don't recommend doing that, unless you don't mind looking disheveled. Lest I go on some wild tangent, getting more sleep with ADHD isn't just go to bed earlier for me. It's a nightly negotiation with my brain that thinks 1 a.m. is a great time to redesign my entire life. I know that I'm not broken. I'm not lazy, and I'm definitely not alone. There are many people out there like me. We're not broken. Our brains just run different operating system, and with the right tools, even this system can rest and reset. All right, friends, go chase your dreams. I'm pretty tired right now, so let's start with getting some good sleep. This is Chase Squirrelson saying goodbye and see you next time. And please, I look for your feedback and would love to include it in my next episode. If this episode hit home, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to someone who'd get it. You can follow the show so you don't miss the next conversation. And if you feel like it, a quick rating helps the show a great deal. Either way, I appreciate you being here. We'll talk soon.
This podcast is for informational purposes only. The content reflects personal experiences and opinions and is not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, mental health, or legal advice. Flint Rock LLC, the hosts, and guests make no representation or warranties and assume no liability for decisions or actions taken based on this content. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your own situation.